morning, YouTube. How are we all doing today? To start off, I've got just one question for you all. So, I want to ask each and every one of you, who are you picking to win the Super Bowl this weekend? Why don't you tell me in the comments below who your pick is for winning the Super Bowl? I think we know who mine is. And that would be Seahawks. Anyway, behind us here is my South American tank. In my last video, spawnage in the Madness house, or spawnage somewhere, I told you all that my female Feste had spawned with, yes, that little angry female there, with my ornatum male. Yeah, they did not take. Yeah, that or there's just far too many bottom feeders in here to yeah, make that happen. Anyway, it did not take, so we do not have to worry about making a decision. With that said, I'd like to let's go into the fish room. I'd like to talk to you guys about something today that a few people have brought up, why I do this way, and I've tried to explain several times on several different forums as to why I do what I'm going to say I do. Did that make sense? I don't know if it did or did not. But anyway, what I want to talk about is water changes and what I do. I know for a fact there are many of you that refill your tanks with lukewarm water from your faucets. And I know this because I used to do it myself. You know, our logic of thinking is, well, I don't want to put cold water in my tank because I want to try and match it as close as possible to the tank temp. Yeah, well, yeah, I used to think that too. About 5 years ago, my fish room used to look like this. And since then, it has grown up. But back then, this big guy, right here, Mr. Hoga, was one of my first serious acquisitions. Him and his little bride there. And when he was barely 5-6 inches, he developed a hole in the head. Alright, I'm like, well, shoot. What the hell's going on? Why does he have a hole in the head? I also had this guy. Another one of my amps. He also was about 6 inches, and he also had a hole in the head. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Why is this? So I started doing some research, some reading. Came across a bunch of articles that pointed out how carbon in your tanks is pointless unless you're removing, you know, some medication, or really there's no reason for it. Carbon is linked to causing issues, and if it's not needed in my aquarium, then I'm not using it. So I have not used carbon in any of my aquariums since then, for 5 years. Which leads me to my water changes. I was grasping at straws. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why, you know, why my fish keeping abilities were being challenged the way they were. You know, something simple like hole in the head. I was feeding them a decent diet, obviously not as good as I am now with the Southern Delight diet, the Southern Delight diet that I feed them now. But their diet was decent. water changes was not an issue because I only had at that time about 7 tanks instead of the 28 that I have now. So that wasn't it. So I just did, again, I did some reading, I did some research. I called up, I have a small, up here in the area that I live, I have a small water company that I don't have, you know, large ones like Seattle or Tacoma. It's just a small little podunk water company. So I called them up and I said, hey, you know, are you guys putting anything in your water that could be causing it? Because I checked my, you know, pH. And with that, I'm gonna just, you know, detract a little bit here. I'm gonna go sideways regarding testing the water. A good buddy of mine, Conway Stevens, on one of the forums in Cichlid Keepers on Facebook, did a really awesome write-up on nitrates and equaling out your nitrates. When you test for nitrates, how your the readings on it could be higher or lower than what they actually are. So you have to equalize it, you know, like stepping on a scale or making sure it's zeroed out. So you got to do that, and he's got a nice little write-up on that. With that said, I also know a lot of you like to use those dip strips. I cannot urge you more to not use those little dipping strips. They are so inaccurate. I mean beyond inaccurate. I had a good friend of mine that was testing his not ammonia level, what was he pH, because he wanted to make sure that his South American tank pH was decent. So he used one of the test strips, and the test strip came out somewhere between, I don't know, 6.7 and 7.0. And sorry, I'm getting distracted there by the male and the female. Male blue redhead fin and the female Zoe. And seriously, Cat, where the hell are you going with my drain hose? My God, go do something. Anyway, sorry. Where was I? pH. So he used the test strip. And I said, Darren, I hate those things. Do you have the liquid test strip? Seriously, Cat, what are you doing? Stop. Anyway, he said, yeah, so he went off and tested it. His, oh my, what do we got going on here? His pH actually came out with the liquid test kit at being 8.2. The strip, little dipstick strip, said it was around 6.7 to 7, and the liquid was 8.2. Which goes to show you exactly what Conway was talking about, the nitrate test kit. The readings can vary, but that is a massive vary, and I wouldn't test those little, I trust those little dipsticks. I'd throw those things in the trash. Anyway, back to what I was getting at with the water changes. So I called up my little podunk water company. Hey, are you sticking anything in the water? And they're like, why? And I said, well, I'm reading an ammonia, you know, a little bit of ammonia out of the tap. Wasn't much, but it was a little bit. And again, is that what, you know, causing the hole in the head? No, I'm just grasping at straws at this point. So she says, well, let me call one of the guys that go out and does all the testing for him, and he'll get back with me. So we, I'll move over to a different tank while I continue to yak. So he called me up and said, hey, you know, set up a meeting. Can I come out? We'll test your water. So he came out and he tested my water, and he, you know, showed me what they do and what they add. They do not add chloramine because chloramine is illegal, and if they do, they will notify us. And I have been notified once already with them adding additives to my water. So I'd have to say that's a good thing on my behalf that I actually have a little podunk water company that follows the rules. With that said, he saw one of my tanks in the house, and he goes, you know, first he asked me why was I concerned, and so I showed him, and then he's like, oh, you have aquariums? He says, I have saltwater aquariums also. And he asked me, he goes, what kind of water changes do you do? And so I told him, I said, you know, here's what I do, you know, 30% water changes, I hooked the hose up to the faucet, and he goes, whoa, 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 that's your big problem there. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? So I went through the old, you know, conversation. Well, you know, you don't want to add cold water. Yeah, well, anyway, honestly, the cold water, I'm going to tell you guys, is not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing. I mean, come on. You got the rains. You got the runoff from the mountains, the glaciers. These guys get constant cold water intake into the lakes and streams and rivers, and a lot of the time is what causes and triggers the spawning. And it's probably why I have a lot of spawning going on in my aquariums now. Anyway, with that said, the gentleman basically said, hey Sean, let me show you something. So he went out into his truck and he got his test kit. And so we tested the water out of the hot faucet, outside faucet, cold water. A few readings, but nothing major, actually. So then he said, all right, I want you to whip up, you know, a bucket of warm water at the temperature that you want. So I did that, and he did the readings. He tested for lead, he tested for copper, he tested for iron, he tested for all kinds of different metals. And the readings that we got with the water coming out of the hot water tank were off the chart. I mean, we're talking off the chart. I was hoping that I could round him up for you guys today because I wanted to really demonstrate myself doing these tests from the hot water tank and showing you. But that gentleman has moved on to bigger and better things, and I could not get anyone lined up to do this. So I'm just going to tell you basically on my experiences. So we did the testing, and then we drained the bottom. You know, we drained a little bit of water out of the bottom of the hot water tank, straight hot water, and the readings were even worse, even higher. So then he said, okay, well, what are you doing? I said, well, yeah, I kind of figured that there might be metals, but you know, I use this. And he goes, well, what do you use as a dechlorinator? And so I showed him Prime. So we added Prime to the bucket, and then we did testing again. Those of you that think Prime gets rid of metals out of your water, you're sorely mistaken. Prime doesn't get rid of any metals out of the water. All Prime does is dechlorinate and get rid of the chloramines. The readings on the metals were identical after inserting Prime. Then I used Rid metals, and I dosed the bucket with Rid metals. And it did a very nice job, but the readings were still way too high for my liking. I mean, it's just like, there's a reason, and this is how he put it to me. He says there's a reason that when you're in cooking class or cooking school, or when you're in school and you're in your adult living class, they say, don't brush your teeth. It said dentists, don't brush your teeth with warm water. Filter your shower so you don't have the warm water, splashing on your skin. Don't cook with warm water. Cook with cold water and heat it. The reason is because that hot water tank is full of metals. Metals that are very harmful. And can you imagine if you, and granted, I've made this argument many a times to people, but I've been doing warm water changes for years and look at my fish. Well, my question to you is, how long are your fish living? Are you having fish live 4, 5, 6 years, and you, because this is a norm, think, well, this is normal, so that must be the normal lifespan of a cichlid, 4, 5, 6 years. Wrong answer. Big time wrong answer. Your fish are only living 4, 5, 6 years because they're continuously ingesting, living in waters that are infested with metals. There's a reason why we don't have lead in kids' toys in the paint. There are reasons why we don't, it's just, there are reasons, people, and I'm trying to get this out to as many of you as I possibly can. Stop doing any type of warm water changes. Unless you have a container to put the cold water in and warm it up with a heater, then transfer it into your tanks. And believe me, everybody, I do 30 to 40% water changes in the summertime, 20 to 30% water changes in the wintertime, And my fish have no issues with the cold water. They actually enjoy it. They swim through the stream when I start doing cold water changes. It drops my temperatures from about 80 down to about 75. No issues. And for those of you that said, well, you know, big shock like that, that's going to cause ick. That's a totally different topic for a totally different day, and it's not going to cause ick. Ick is not alive in my tanks unless I bring it in. Ick has a life cycle. Once it goes through that life cycle, ick is dead, it's gone. So I don't have to worry about ick. Am I stressing the fish out? Not really, I don't think so. Maybe. They sure as hell don't look like it, because every time I do water changes and they're swimming through that cold water, they're happy as a clam and they're acting all excited and loving life. So with that said, everybody, I can't emphasize more. Start doing cold water changes. If you're unable to make it, you know, warm it up in a tub and then transfer it to your tanks, cold water changes, you will be amazed at the results. Yeah, granted, you're not going to be able to do these 50-70% water changes, but honestly, I don't understand why people do that big of a water change anyway. You're not going to be able to do that size of water change anymore with straight cold water. Because you're right, that is dumb. You're going to drop that temperature in half. So, no, if you're just doing like myself, 20-25% water changes, couple, 2-3 days a week, your fish are going to love it. They're going to, you will definitely notice a difference. Not only that, but you might notice some spawning action if that's what you're trying to do as well. So again, people, hot water tanks, stay away from the hot water tank. I'm not going to say it again. Stay away. So with that said, let's do a quick little run through. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Hoga, he's about 5 years now, 6 years old. Same thing with Mr. Dovi. Same thing with his bride. Same thing with Mr. Hartwiggy. Mr. Red Devil. All of them have been with me for about 5-6 years now. All looking beautendous, stupendous, and all them other indices. So everybody in the 400 is up front wanting to say hi. So let's take a look at a few of them. Look at that beautiful ornate. There are some of you out there that haven't gotten into the Belipterus craze yet, or the biker craze, or bitcher craze, or however you want to pronounce them. Oh, you got to get into them. These guys are just awesome. Just to watch them slither around the tank is just amazing. Same thing with a big old school of clown loaches. They're all hungry right now, begging for food, so that's probably why they're hanging out here. So the other day, I got rid of all the fry in my tank up there with that Bradori and the Coltsacoccus, and I added a female Coltsa from my other tank. And she looks like she immediately wants to spawn with the male that's in there, and now they're causing all kinds of crap. So let's go take a look at them real quick. Oh, I love that. Those ornates are awesome. And over here we got the Dells, 3 Delhaize. And then we got the biggest of the 3 Delhaize back there. We're gonna call him Fatso. I don't name my fish, but what the hell? We'll call him Fatso. Let's go around the corner. That guy's about as big around as a 50-cent piece. Awesome, awesome. A lot of chaos going on over here. Not sure why. But anyway, my Umbi, that pair spawned the other day also. No viable fry, unfortunately. So no hybrid fry, no umbi fry. That's right, it's only their second spawn. They'll get it right sooner or later. They're still small. He's got plenty of time to grow and look stupendous and have some stupendous looking babies. Let's go down and take a look at my red Asletus. I don't think he gets enough airtime. Look at that guy. Look at that big old hump. Come here, big guy. Come here. Come here, let's pet you. Come on. Oh, you're gonna hide. Ever since he knocked his wife off, girlfriend, mate, he doesn't play with my hand as much anymore. Come on, don't be shy. I see you peeking. Come here. Trying to play peekaboo? Come here. You know you wanna. Come on. There you go. Come here. Alright, we'll leave him alone. Anyway, guys, I hope this was an informative video. I hope, if anything, even if it's just a small percentage, excuse me, we'll have to edit that one out. If I can just get a small percentage of you to start changing the way you do your water changes, then I've done my job, because that's just a handful of hobbyists whose fish they get to enjoy a little longer than 3-4 years. So if anybody out there is looking for any of the Southern Delight, hit up Conway Stevens or Mike Mann in the comments below. I will have all of their information, their YouTube channels. Please visit them, sub them up. I will also have the addresses to the Facebook pages and so on and so forth. Sorry guys, I'm distracted at looking at all my fish. I can't talk. I mean, I got a lot of aggression going on in all my tanks, and I'm I'm a little enamored by it, so I'm a little distracted, so I can't talk. But anyway, check out the writing below, and sub up to anybody down there, all the members of Team Aquatic Support, and if you haven't already done so, go visit them. So anyway, talk to you guys later, and we'll see you soon.